Improve your self-image 2026. Look in the mirror. Who stares back at you? Is it someone confident, unshakable, alive? Or someone holding back, waiting for the world to tell them they're enough? Right now, in this very moment, your self-image is the most powerful force in your life. It shapes your decisions, your relationships, and even your happiness. Yet, most of us let it be defined by yesterday's failures, someone else's opinions, or the fear of not being enough. But here's the truth. Your self-image is not fixed. It is a story you can rewrite every single day. When you start seeing yourself as capable, worthy, and resilient, the world has no choice but to mirror that image back to you. Improving your self-image isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity, action, and honesty with yourself. It begins with the small choices, the words you speak about yourself, the posture you carry, the thoughts you nurture. Every time you say, "I can," instead of, "I can't," you are strengthening the lens through which you see yourself. And yes, it takes courage. You will feel the pull of doubt, the whispers of old insecurities. But courage is simply acting in spite of that fear. Stand taller, speak clearer, and take the first step, even when the path ahead seems unclear. Here's the key. The world doesn't give respect first. It reflects the respect you have for yourself. The world doesn't believe in your vision first. It responds to your belief in it. Your self-image is the blueprint for the life you are about to build. So, start today. Look in the mirror and declare, "I am worthy. I am capable. I am becoming the person I need to be." Watch how everything around you begins to shift. Because when your self-image rises, your life rises with it. 2026 is the year you stop shrinking for others and start expanding for yourself. Own your image, own your power, and step into the life you've been imagining. Every moment we are confronted with a mirror, not just the glass that reflects our physical appearance, but the invisible mirror of our mind, the reflection of how we see ourselves. Too often, people assume that their self-image is something they are born with, an unchangeable fact, as if the essence of who they are is etched into stone at birth. They look at themselves and see limits, flaws, insecurities, mistakes from the past, and they tell themselves, "This is who I am. This is the sum of my abilities, my worth, my potential." And in believing this, they unknowingly imprison themselves, because the image we hold of ourselves becomes the lens through which we experience every moment of life. If that lens is fogged with doubt or colored by fear, the world itself will appear restrictive, dangerous, or discouraging. The first step in transforming our lives is understanding a profound truth. Self-image is not predetermined. It is a choice. Choosing your self-image is not as simple as saying, "I choose to feel good about myself." It is deeper than optimism, deeper than affirmations that you might recite half-heartedly in front of a mirror. Choosing your self-image means recognizing that every belief, every thought, every perception you carry about yourself was learned, not innate. It was taught by parents, teachers, society, past experiences, or even your own interpretations of events. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned. If it was created, it can be recreated. This is the power that most people overlook, the power to actively design the way you see yourself. You are not bound by yesterday's labels, yesterday's failures, or yesterday's fears. You are not trapped by the judgments of others because their words are simply echoes in your mind until you choose to let them define you.
Imagine for a moment that every image you have of yourself is a frame in a gallery.
Some of these frames are bright and uplifting, showing you as capable, strong, and deserving. Others are dark, distorted, showing you as small, limited, or unworthy. When you believe that your self-image is fixed, you are standing in this gallery, frozen, staring at the darkest frames, convinced they represent your reality. But the truth is that you hold the power to replace the frames, to rearrange the pictures, to choose what dominates the walls of your mind. The choice is not passive. It requires intention, awareness, and action. It requires looking at those old frames, acknowledging what they were meant to teach, and then deliberately choosing which images you will carry forward. One of the most common barriers to choosing your self-image is the illusion of permanence. People look at their habits, their skills, their social standing, or their past mistakes, and believe that because they are part of the past, they define the present. But every expert, every leader, every person we admire in history began with a self-image far different from what they eventually became. They made a choice, often consciously, sometimes in moments of desperation or clarity, to see themselves differently. They refused to accept the default narrative, the pre-written script of limitations, and instead crafted a story in which they were capable of more than they had ever imagined. If they could do it, so can anyone willing to make that same conscious choice. Choosing your self-image also means challenging the internal dialogue that constantly reinforces limitations. The human mind has a tendency to latch onto evidence that confirms existing beliefs. If you believe you are incapable, every minor failure or mistake is magnified, while successes are diminished. If you believe you are unworthy, every slight or criticism becomes proof, while moments of love, achievement, or recognition are ignored. This selective perception strengthens the existing self-image, making it feel inevitable, unchangeable. But once you recognize this pattern, once you see that your mind can be trained to notice evidence that supports growth, courage, and capability, you realize that your self-image is an evolving construct, shaped by what you choose to focus on. Every thought you nurture, every story you tell yourself, is like a brushstroke in a painting of who you are. You can allow the brushstrokes of fear and limitation to dominate, or you can deliberately add strokes of confidence, competence, and worthiness until a new image emerges. Making this choice also requires awareness of the subtle ways we unconsciously reinforce negative self-images. Social comparison is one of the most powerful traps. We measure ourselves against others, judging our worth by the highlight reels we see, not realizing that every person is fighting private battles and facing limitations we cannot see. When we compare, we risk allowing external factors to dictate our self-image, when in reality, true self-image is internal, not conditional. Choosing your self-image means deciding to stop using others as the yardstick for your value, and instead evaluating yourself by your own standards, your own growth, your own progress. It is choosing to see yourself through the lens of possibility rather than limitation. The choice of self-image is also reflected in action. Thoughts alone are not enough because the mind and body are intertwined. When you begin to move in alignment with a positive self-image, standing taller, speaking with clarity, taking initiative, you reinforce the belief in yourself. Action creates feedback. Each step taken in alignment with a chosen self-image sends signals to the brain, rewriting the neural pathways that govern belief. This is why the most transformative shifts in self-image often occur not in quiet reflection alone, but in deliberate action, repeated consistently over time. By acting as though you are already the person you aspire to become, you gradually internalize that identity until it becomes second nature. Choosing your self-image also requires forgiveness and release. Past failures, mistakes, and regrets are not chains, they are lessons. To carry them as proof of inadequacy is to misunderstand their purpose. Choosing your self-image means looking at the past without judgment, extracting wisdom, and moving forward with a sense of freedom. Every human being is a work in progress, and the person you are today is not the person you were yesterday. By letting go of old narratives that no longer serve you, you make space for the new, empowered self-image to grow. Believing that self-image is a choice is the first step, but sustaining that choice requires persistence. There will be setbacks, moments when doubt creeps back, moments when old fears resurface. The difference is that now you have a framework to recognize these moments as temporary, as signs to reaffirm your choice, rather than as evidence that you are incapable of change. Choosing your self-image is not a one-time decision. It is a practice, a daily commitment, a conscious awareness that who you are is being written in every thought, every action, every interaction. It is the recognition that you are both the artist and the observer of your own life, and that the masterpiece is still being created. Every decision you make, every thought you nurture, every story you tell yourself is part of this deliberate construction of self. The power of choice in self-image is liberating because it means that no circumstance, no opinion, no mistake can permanently define who you are. You are not a passive recipient of life's conditions. You are an active architect of your identity. Each morning offers a new opportunity to reaffirm your choice, to step into the mirror and see not what you fear, but what you are capable of becoming. This choice does not depend on external validation or approval because it arises from an internal commitment to yourself. By choosing your self-image, you reclaim authority over your mind, your actions, and ultimately, the trajectory of your life. The way we see ourselves is not built in a single moment of insight or grand realization. It is built quietly, almost imperceptibly, through the small actions we take each day. Every choice, no matter how insignificant it seems in the moment, leaves a mark on the image we hold of ourselves. It is easy to underestimate the power of these small steps because they often do not provide immediate results. We look for dramatic transformations, sudden breakthroughs, or overnight confidence. But the reality is that our self-image grows like a tree rooted in consistency, nourished by repeated effort and strengthened by countless minor victories that accumulate over time. Each small action is a seed planted in the soil of our mind, and what we choose to plant will determine the nature of the self-image we cultivate. Consider how habits operate in our lives. Habits are the invisible architects of identity. They are the patterns we repeat so often that they become automatic, defining not only what we do but also how we perceive ourselves. When we consistently choose to act with discipline, when we follow through on commitments, when we speak kindly to ourselves and others, we begin to reinforce a self-image of reliability, integrity, and worthiness. Conversely, when we consistently give in to procrastination, negative self-talk, or avoidance, we reinforce an image of weakness or inadequacy. Small daily actions, repeated over weeks and months, sculpt the brain, shape perception, and solidify the self-image that guides our decisions. The cumulative effect of these actions is far more powerful than any single dramatic effort, because they create an internal narrative that eventually feels inevitable. Every morning presents an opportunity to take actions that shape your self-image. How you begin the day matters, not only because it sets the tone for your actions, but because it sends a signal to your mind about who you are. Choosing to rise early, to move your body, to dedicate time to reflection, or to learn something new, even in small increments, is a choice that reinforces a self-image of purpose and capability. Each tiny effort tells your mind, I am someone who acts intentionally. I am someone who values growth. Over time, these small affirmations through action accumulate, and your self-image begins to shift. You begin to see yourself not as someone waiting for change to happen, but as someone who initiates it, who consistently takes steps toward becoming the person you aspire to be. The power of small actions is also evident in the way we speak to ourselves. Our internal dialogue is a series of mini actions that shape identity. Each time we catch ourselves in negative self-talk and choose to correct it, each time we respond to ourselves with encouragement instead of criticism, we are taking action that rewires the way we see ourselves. For example, telling yourself, I can learn this skill instead of I'm not good at this, might feel trivial in the moment, but repeated consistently, it strengthens a self-image of competence and resilience. The mind does not distinguish between imagined and actual experiences when repeated consistently. By choosing positive growth-oriented internal dialogue as a daily action, we are shaping the very lens through which we view every challenge, opportunity, and interaction. Small actions also extend to how we interact with others. The habits of generosity, empathy, and integrity are subtle behaviors that communicate to the world and to ourselves the kind of person we are. Each time we follow through on a promise, offer help, or act with honesty, we reinforce a self-image aligned with trustworthiness and moral strength. Conversely, neglecting these small ethical actions or dismissing them as insignificant slowly erodes the self-respect that forms the foundation of a strong self-image. Over time, the way we treat others mirrors the way we treat ourselves, because these actions confirm to our mind who we believe we are. Small, consistent choices in behavior become a framework that shapes identity from the inside out. Another critical dimension of small daily actions is the cultivation of skills. Every time we dedicate time to practice, study, or refine a craft, even for a few minutes, we are investing in our sense of capability. Skill building is not instantaneous. It is an accumulation of micro actions that demonstrate to ourselves that we are capable of growth. These repeated efforts create a feedback loop. The more we practice, the more we see progress. The more progress we see, the stronger our self-image as someone who can learn, adapt, and succeed. By approaching personal development as a series of small, intentional steps rather than a quest for immediate mastery, we give our self-image the space to evolve organically and sustainably. The environment we create also interacts with our small actions to shape self-image. The books we read, the people we spend time with, the spaces we inhabit, and even the media we consume influence the micro-actions we take. Choosing to surround yourself with inspiration, encouragement, and examples of growth reinforces small actions that align with an empowered self-image. Conversely, passively absorbing negativity or toxic influences can subtly guide actions that undermine confidence, self-respect, and ambition. By taking deliberate action to curate the inputs in our life, we are indirectly shaping the small behaviors that reinforce who we believe ourselves to be. Self-image is also reinforced through reflection. Taking time at the end of each day to observe our actions, acknowledge accomplishments, and consider what went well and what can improve is itself a small action that has a profound effect. Reflection allows us to notice patterns, recognize progress, and affirm the choices that align with the self-image we want to cultivate. Without reflection, actions remain isolated moments and the power to shape identity diminishes. When reflection is integrated as a daily practice, even minor achievements become potent signals that build confidence, competence, and self-respect over time. Importantly, small daily actions are not about perfection. The goal is not to execute flawlessly every day, but to consistently choose actions that align with growth, integrity, and self-respect. Mistakes, lapses, and setbacks are inevitable, but they do not negate the impact of repeated effort. Each time we resume action after a failure, we reinforce resilience and the belief that our self-image is not defined by perfection but by persistence. It is the pattern of return, the deliberate continuation of small actions despite challenges, that forms the bedrock of a strong, enduring self-image. Even seemingly mundane actions carry significance. Choosing to organize your space, complete a task on time, maintain personal hygiene, or follow through on minor commitments might feel trivial, yet they collectively communicate to your mind that you are someone capable, reliable, and disciplined. These small choices ripple outward, influencing bigger decisions and long-term habits. The self-image we hold is a mosaic composed of countless tiny decisions, each one a tile that contributes to the overall picture. By consistently attending to these small details, we create an internal environment where confidence, capability, and self-worth flourish naturally. Small daily actions are the bridge between intention and reality. We can envision the person we want to become, imagine the confidence we wish to feel, and plan for growth, but without action, these remain abstract ideas. Each micro-action is a tangible demonstration of commitment to the self we wish to embody. By showing up consistently, even in the smallest ways, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of reliability, discipline, and courage. Over time, these actions compound, transforming the way we perceive ourselves, the way others perceive us, and the trajectory of our lives in ways that are almost imperceptible day to day but undeniable in the long term. Courage is often misunderstood. Many people believe it is the absence of fear, the natural state of someone who is brave and unshakable. But in reality, courage is not a lack of fear. It is the choice to act in spite of fear, to move forward when doubt tugs at your mind and uncertainty clouds the path ahead. Fear is not the enemy of courage, it is the testing ground. Every time we encounter fear, whether it is fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown, we are given an opportunity to exercise courage. True courage does not eliminate fear. It acknowledges it, respects it, and then proceeds anyway. The first step in understanding courage is to recognize that fear is universal. Every human being experiences it in some form, and it is a signal, not a verdict. Fear is the mind's way of highlighting risk, signaling that something matters, and alerting you to the potential for growth or loss. The presence of fear does not indicate weakness. It indicates life, opportunity, and a boundary waiting to be expanded. People who accomplish extraordinary things do not wait for fear to disappear. They act in alignment with their values, goals, and vision, even when their bodies and minds resist. They understand that courage is a practice, not a sudden gift, and that every act of bravery, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that fear is not a barrier but a doorway. Doubt operates in tandem with fear, often silently, subtly undermining confidence and convincing the mind that inaction is safer than action. Doubt whispers, "What if you fail? What if you're not ready? What if they laugh?" These thoughts are not truths, they are challenges, and they exist precisely to test whether you will move forward despite uncertainty. Acting in spite of doubt strengthens self-trust, because each time you choose action, you prove to yourself that your ability to respond to challenges exceeds the power of hesitation. Courage is built in these moments of decision, where fear and doubt meet resolve and action, and where growth is chosen over comfort. To act courageously, it is necessary to start small. Courage does not require grand gestures or heroic feats. It begins with micro actions, speaking your truth in a conversation, asking a question that matters, expressing vulnerability, taking responsibility, or standing up for yourself or others in subtle but meaningful ways. These small acts of courage accumulate, creating a pattern of behavior that reshapes your self-image and your perception of what is possible. By acting in spite of fear, even on a small scale, you send a signal to your brain that you are capable of facing challenges, which gradually reduces the paralyzing effect of doubt and strengthens your inner resilience. Courage also requires embracing uncertainty. Most fear arises from a desire for control, a belief that if every outcome is known and predictable, then life is safe. But true growth and transformation occur in the space of the unknown, where risk exists and outcomes are uncertain. Choosing to act despite not knowing the full path is the essence of courage. It is the willingness to trust yourself, trust your preparation, and trust your ability to adapt. Every time you step into uncertainty and choose action, you reinforce a self-image of adaptability, strength, and initiative. Over time, this practice transforms fear from a barrier into a guide, an indicator of where growth awaits. The mind will often try to rationalize fear, creating elaborate stories of why action is impossible, why it is premature, or why it is unsafe. Recognizing these patterns is essential, because the stories are often illusions designed to keep you within a comfort zone. Courage is the ability to see the narrative for what it is and act anyway. It is the willingness to prioritize long-term growth and integrity over short-term comfort and avoidance. Every time you do this, you reclaim control over your life, because fear is no longer dictating your choices. You are actively deciding who you are and how you will respond to the challenges before you. History is filled with examples of courage, and a closer look reveals a common thread. The people who achieve extraordinary outcomes do not wait until fear is gone. They act, they experiment, they fail, they recover, and they persist. Courage is iterative. It grows with repetition. Every act of bravery, regardless of scale, reinforces the neural pathways associated with resilience, confidence, and determination. Each courageous decision compounds, creating momentum that expands the horizon of what you believe is possible for yourself. Courage is not an event, it is a muscle strengthened through consistent use. Another essential element of courage is self-awareness. You must understand what fears are holding you back, what doubts are influencing your choices, and what values drive your decisions. Acting without awareness can lead to reckless behavior, but courage, guided by insight, is transformative. By identifying your fears and doubts, naming them, and confronting them through deliberate action, you reduce their power and increase your capacity to respond effectively. Courage is not blind, it is informed, intentional, and anchored in self-knowledge. Courage also involves the willingness to fail. Fear often manifests as fear of failure, but failure is not the opposite of courage, it is part of it. To act courageously is to accept the possibility of failure while proceeding anyway. Each failure is a lesson, a mirror that reflects what needs adjustment, a step toward mastery. Those who achieve greatness understand that courage is inseparable from risk. They embrace the discomfort of uncertainty, the sting of criticism, and the inevitability of mistakes as part of the journey. By doing so, they develop a self-image rooted not in avoidance or perfection, but in resilience, growth, and perseverance. Emotional courage is equally vital. Acting despite fear is not only about external challenges, it is about facing internal obstacles, such as self-doubt, shame, insecurity, or regret. Emotional courage allows you to confront uncomfortable feelings, express vulnerability, and take responsibility for your inner state. By practicing emotional courage, you strengthen your self-image, because you demonstrate to yourself that you are capable of managing difficulty with integrity and composure. This internal bravery amplifies external courage, creating a holistic strength that guides every action. Courage is contagious. When we act despite fear, we inspire others to do the same. Our courage communicates a message. Fear is not a wall but a threshold. When others witness this, they are reminded that they too can move forward, take risks, and face uncertainty with resolve. Small acts of courage ripple outward, shaping not only our self-image but also the environment around us. By consistently choosing courage, we reinforce a pattern of empowerment, not just for ourselves, but for everyone whose lives we touch. The practice of courage also intersects with self-discipline. Acting despite fear requires the ability to prioritize long-term goals over immediate comfort, to push through resistance, and to align actions with intention. Discipline amplifies courage because it provides a framework for repeated action even when motivation falters. When fear arises, disciplined habits provide the scaffolding that supports courageous behavior, ensuring that action continues even in the presence of doubt. Over time, the integration of discipline and courage transforms the mind, rewires neural pathways, and reinforces a self-image of steadfastness and capability. Courage is not static. It evolves with each challenge faced, each risk taken, and each moment of fear confronted. The more you practice it, the more expansive your perception of what is possible becomes. Every courageous act stretches the boundaries of your comfort zone, expands your confidence, and strengthens the inner belief that you are capable of handling uncertainty, challenge, and adversity. Courage is iterative, compounding, and dynamic, reshaping not only your actions but the very way you see yourself and the world. Courage is ultimately a choice you make every day. It is the decision to step forward when doubt is present, to take action when fear is present, and to persist when uncertainty dominates. It is the recognition that the path to growth, achievement, and self-realization is paved not with certainty, but with deliberate, courageous action. Each moment of fear met with resolve becomes a building block, a brick in the foundation of a self-image rooted in strength, resilience, and possibility. Belief in yourself is the most profound force you can cultivate because it acts as both a compass and a magnet. It determines the direction you take, the risks you embrace, and the standards you set for yourself. It shapes your perception of opportunity and your response to challenge. When you believe in yourself, you create a reality in which your actions carry weight. Your voice commands attention, and your presence communicates certainty. The world does not respond to the potential of what you might do, it responds to the confidence with which you act, the certainty with which you carry yourself, and the conviction with which you pursue your vision. Belief in yourself is not arrogance, nor is it blind optimism. It is a grounded recognition of your capacity, a steady trust in your ability to navigate life's complexities, and a declaration to the world that you are worthy of being heard, seen, and respected. Belief in yourself begins internally. It is the mental agreement you make with yourself that you are capable of more than your current circumstances suggest. Without this internal commitment, no amount of external training, advice, or encouragement will create lasting change. The mind is the primary battleground, and self-belief is the armor you wear. Every thought you nurture, every affirmation you repeat, every mental image you hold contributes to this belief. When you consistently choose thoughts that affirm your capabilities, resilience, and potential, you are actively constructing a self-image that communicates strength to the world. Your actions then align with this belief, and the environment responds accordingly. The world mirrors back the energy you radiate. The absence of self-belief is often the hidden reason behind hesitation, missed opportunities, and unfulfilled potential. People wait for permission, validation, or external approval because internally they are unsure of their worth. When you do not fully believe in yourself, you unconsciously signal uncertainty to others. Your posture, tone of voice, and decision-making betray doubt, even when your words claim confidence. Humans are remarkably perceptive to energy. The world responds to the conviction behind actions far more than the words themselves. When you cultivate genuine belief, you radiate assurance, and the world instinctively aligns with it. Doors open, invitations emerge, collaborations are offered, and opportunities present themselves in ways that would have been invisible to someone carrying doubt. Belief in yourself also transforms the way you handle resistance. Challenges, criticism, and setbacks are inevitable, yet their impact is mediated by the strength of your belief. When you have faith in your abilities, failures are interpreted as feedback rather than final verdicts. Criticism is processed as information rather than a reflection of inadequacy. Obstacles are approached as temporary conditions to navigate rather than insurmountable walls. This mindset allows for fluidity, creativity, and persistence. Belief provides the mental framework that enables you to act decisively in the face of adversity, which in turn changes the way others perceive and respond to you. Confidence, even in challenging circumstances, inspires trust, respect, and collaboration. The interaction between belief and action is inseparable. Belief in yourself is not merely a mental exercise, it manifests in behavior. The moment you move decisively toward a goal, speak up for your ideas, or take initiative in a situation where others hesitate, you are broadcasting your self-belief externally. This is why people who achieve remarkable results often appear magnetic, not because they are flawless, but because their belief informs every gesture, word, and choice. Actions without belief can feel forced, uncertain, and hesitant. Belief without action remains abstract. The combination of both generates momentum, influence, and tangible results, which then reinforce the belief itself. This cyclical process creates a feedback loop where internal confidence shapes external outcomes and external responses further strengthen internal belief. Self-belief also influences how you communicate your vision. A person who believes in themselves speaks with clarity, authority, and consistency. Their ideas are expressed not as suggestions, but as possibilities backed by conviction. People respond to this energy instinctively. Leaders, innovators, and changemakers understand that the quality of belief in themselves determines how persuasive and compelling their vision becomes. Doubt or uncertainty, no matter how well-intentioned, weakens impact because others sense hesitation. True influence arises when self-belief and action converge, creating a force that moves both people and circumstances toward your intended outcome. Belief in yourself is also a shield against the opinions of others. The world will always offer criticism, judgment, or skepticism. But if your self-perception is rooted in internal conviction rather than external validation, these external opinions lose power. Belief acts as a filter, allowing constructive input to guide growth while discarding noise that undermines confidence. When you anchor yourself in your own capabilities, values, and vision, you operate from a place of authenticity rather than reaction. Others may doubt, question, or resist, but your belief ensures that you remain steady, purposeful, and effective. This belief is not static. It grows through repeated demonstration of competence and courage. Each time you face a challenge, pursue an opportunity, or take responsibility in a high-stakes situation, your belief strengthens. It is reinforced by action, and action is reinforced by belief. Over time, this creates an unshakable internal foundation. Even in unfamiliar circumstances, your trust in your ability to navigate complexity becomes a guiding force, enabling decisive, effective, and confident behavior. The world responds differently to someone who carries this kind of self-assurance because it signals reliability, capability, and presence. Belief in yourself also shapes how you perceive others' reactions. When self-belief is strong, praise is appreciated without dependency, criticism is processed without deflation, and opportunities are seized without hesitation. Your energy becomes grounded in competence rather than seeking approval. This grounded energy shifts interactions, attracting collaboration, support, and respect. People naturally align with those who are confident, not arrogant, because certainty inspires trust. When you project self-belief consistently, it influences not only the responses you receive, but also the expectations others have of you. Your internal perception becomes a lens through which the world measures your potential. Importantly, belief in yourself empowers decision-making. Many people stall because of fear of making the wrong choice or uncertainty about their capabilities. Belief provides clarity. It allows you to weigh options, take calculated risks, and commit to decisions without being paralyzed by indecision. When you operate from a place of belief, hesitation diminishes and momentum grows. Decisions are executed with confidence, creating outcomes that reinforce your internal perception and further align external responses with your aspirations. Belief also transforms your ability to innovate and create. Fear of failure or rejection often inhibits creativity, but a strong self-belief creates a safe internal environment for experimentation. You are willing to explore, test, fail, and refine because you trust your capacity to recover, adapt, and succeed. This mindset generates both resilience and ingenuity, and as you produce tangible results, the world reacts to your contributions with recognition, opportunity, and influence. Your belief thus becomes the engine that drives both personal growth and external impact. Even in relationships, belief in yourself changes dynamics. People naturally gravitate toward those who value themselves because self-respect communicates boundaries, reliability, and authenticity. When you believe in your worth, you engage with others from a position of strength, not neediness. Interactions become collaborations rather than negotiations for validation. This shifts how people treat you, how they communicate, and how they align their expectations, creating an environment where respect, trust, and mutual empowerment flourish. Belief in yourself ultimately shapes the lens through which you interpret life. Challenges are seen as opportunities, setbacks as temporary lessons, and potential as limitless. Your internal energy sets the stage for how external circumstances unfold because you act with intentionality, conviction, and presence. The world responds to those who operate from this place of grounded belief because confidence commands attention, inspires trust, and aligns outcomes with vision. Each day becomes a reflection of the belief you cultivate internally, creating a life that mirrors your perception of possibility.